Hello, and welcome to Friday. We're going to find out together if this is going to work at all. If you're in my Discord, which you should be, you may have seen yesterday I got some papayas, but they look, they're a little rough on the outside. And in fact, since this one's been sitting here, it's gotten a little rougher on the other side. I'm just going to go ahead and not show you the other side. This one looks better. That one might actually be a loss based on that side. The thing is, they're not soft. They look terrible on the outside, but they're not soft. So I'm hopeful that it's just the outside aging and we can still get some good fruit on the inside. But I haven't cut them open. I don't know. We're going to find out together live if this will work at all. And if it doesn't, then we're going to scrap it and start going with completely different things. So that's the plan. And then that's not really I'm going to try making ice cream. We're going to attempt making ice cream. I've got a new container. We made ice cream once before, and I used a container that did not freeze well. I've got a new thing. These things, they claim to be freezer stable. They were inexpensive. They're still slightly flexible after having been frozen, which is good. The old ones were very brittle when I froze them, and they had a tendency to shatter when you were trying to scoop the ice cream out of the container, which wasn't great. These claim to be freezer stable. They were cheap, so I'm not losing money if they fail. Well, I'm losing a little bit of money. I'm losing $2. $2 on 4 of them, so they're pretty cheap. But hopefully they work great, and then I can use them because I haven't been able to find the cardboard, the paper cartons, which is what you should use because those are very stable when frozen. Here, let me remove the creepier of the two papayas. I'm a little embarrassed. I didn't even notice it had gotten quite that creepy because it wasn't like that when I put it there yesterday. It's summer and humid, so I shouldn't be surprised, but we're going to have to disinfect the, the cutting board, I think. In fact, we probably should shift the board over here to get washed and switch to a new board. But that's the start. We're gonna slide over here. It's got a few spots. It's got some brown spots. It's not, maybe a tiny bit soft. It doesn't have any like squishy spots though. And that's my hope, is that this will still work fine. Also, if it's not a huge loss. I got both of these for $1 because they were obviously very overripe and they were just trying to get rid of them. So, I guess moment of truth. We won't know it until we get in there. It looks pretty good to me, at least from the initial cut. It looks pretty good to me. I think those blemishes are literally just skin deep. It's very, very juicy ripe. Those are just the seeds. The seeds are always kind of loose on the inside. That's just how papaya seeds are. You can eat those, but they're tricky to do anything with, so I'm not going to eat them. Oh, there's still a sticker on this guy. This is very, very tender, though. But it's not going off. Like, for as grungy as the exterior rind looked, these look great on the inside. They're reasonably firm. It's soft, but it's not like squishy. It's very juicy. So let's get that inner. Hang on to that little nub. The other one I'm a little more worried about. We'll do that one afterwards. We'll see how much we get. I'm not preserving the seeds here. I know, a waste, but I've looked into in the past how to use the seeds, and I just think it's too much of a hassle. I'm not going to bother. Got to be gentle. It's so ripe that the spoon is scraping away a bit more than I'm expecting. I have to be careful not to dig in too hard. The seeds, supposedly, when you and I've actually seen them sold separately as a dried spice, because they're supposed to taste similar to black pepper. They have a that kind of spice to them, not like a chili pepper spice, but like that sort of peppery bite. And it's intrigued me enough that the last time I got a papaya, I actually saved the seeds. But cleaning them and drying them at that point was ugh. Because you got to get all the goop off of them. So I just didn't bother. And based on that experience, I'm once again just not bothering. There was also a much smaller papaya that time. I made some kind of dessert out of it. I was just testing out stuff, and I knew what papaya tasted like at that point, but hadn't had one in so long that were just kind of doing a papaya refresher. And then it turns out papaya is kind of expensive where I am, because I'm nowhere near where papayas live. So they're available literally year-round, but they are pricey. I accidentally scanned these two that I got for full price because they still had their sticker on them. And while I was getting them for $1, the original asking price for the two of them was 17 and some change, which is papayas are good, but I don't think they're that good. Let's get a bowl to catch these guys as I get them out of the skin. Also, I want to taste it. It tastes overripe. Like, it tastes it's sweet. It's not incredibly sweet. It's got a faint tastes like this exact. I'm not going to read this out. It contains an enzyme that, when it's overripe, okay. Well, that might be slightly off-putting. It's got an almost like funkiness to it, which I've just looked up, and it's caused by an enzyme in the papaya, which I'm guessing increases as it gets riper. Well, I guess we're going to soldier forward. It's not off-putting. Well, to me. And we're going to add other stuff to this, so it probably won't be very prominent, hopefully. I just checked the internet to see if that was normal or if that was a sign that it had gone off. And the internet said, that's normal. So, interesting. I want to say I've had papaya before and not noticed this. So it's got to be because these are so overripe. In fact, I know I've had papaya before and not noticed this. So it's got to be because they're so overripe. Weed former, coming in with the sub. Hi, welcome. 4 months. What do you think about papaya, weed former? How you doing? Toby, hi. There's papaya. They look they're very overripe. They look kind of gross on the outside. The other one looks much grosser on the outside. We're going to cut into that one and see how gross it really is. This one was only a little bit gross on the outside, and the inside looks very overripe but not spoiled at all. The skins are pretty thick on these guys, so it's not unusual for the skins to go before the inside even starts. I am scooping it out of the skin rather than trying to cut it away because I don't want to drive skin grossness to the interior if I can help it. But yeah, I haven't had papayas in ages either because they're kind of expensive. But also, hi, welcome. It's been a hot minute. We're attempting to make dairy-free papaya ice cream with this, which is 30% coconut fat, no gum. And it was the same price as the one that had gum, so I got the one with no gum. We're also testing out the new ice cream freezer containers to see if they actually work, or if they get brittle and shatter like the previous attempt. I could probably scrape more out of there, but we're getting up into the skin. And again, I don't want to puncture the skin and let any of the grossness in if I can help it. And it's a little bit fibrous up at the top where the stem connects. So we're going to just drop that one. Well, it's dairy-free, but this stuff, so technically it's not ice cream because it has no dairy in it. But coconut will give it the fatty consistency of an ice cream. So it would be more appropriate from a culinary sense to call it an ice cream rather than a sorbet, because when you eat a sorbet, you're expecting a certain thing, and the eating of this, if I do it correctly, should end up more like an ice cream. Also, isosceles, hi. Welcome, welcome. If you want to know what I was noticing in terms of the slightly off smell and taste of this papaya, put into Google papaya tastes like and let it auto-fill, and you will find what I found. And it's not the nicest thing. I'm not going to say it. It's not the nicest thought. I'm unfamiliar with Dole Whip. Is that like an orange whip? Or is that like the other made-up thing that you made up that time? Coffee something or other. WeFormer lives in some kind of crazy land where there's made-up food. So we're a little bit of time to kill at the start here, just because a lot of scooping going on. I'm surprised at how undersweet it struck me when I took that nibble, though. We might have to actually add some sugar to this. I think of papaya as being like almost syrupy sweet, but this one's not, and I'm wondering if that's also from the overripeness. But I don't know. It's a little bit weird. Coffee milk, that's it. It sounds real. It sounds like an actual thing, but then when you hear about what it is, it's super not real. All right. I'm not going to bother with the stem bit. That's quite a bit of papaya stuff. Okay. Now brace yourselves. Because that was the good one. In Rhode Island and Japan. Both fictional places. Here's the other one. And that's the side that we initially looked at. And I had not looked at this since I set it here on the counter yesterday. And when I did, the other side looked just like this. And in one day, the other side looks like that. That's not looking so hot. That happened in one day. I'm tempted to just sort of cut away that skin side just to ensure that we don't. Yeah, that wasn't there yesterday when I put this here. I'm tempted to just do this. Yeah, see? It's only skin deep. It's literally only skin deep. These fruits with these thick rinds, I've noticed, they do this. They get mold colonies on the skin that look terrible. But when you actually get inside, it's literally only skin deep because the rinds are so thick. Like there's not even any spotting. Well, that's a piece of... Don't look at me like that. So we're just gonna use a big knife and cut away the skin on this one. Probably should have done this on the first one. But it didn't occur to me until I saw the grossness of the second one. So I told you this was the gross one. I actually think that is going to be plenty for what I want to do with it, but so the lesson here is when you buy very overripe fruit, don't save it for the next day. Eat it immediately when you get home. Right away. Don't hold on to it. It'll start to go even grungier within a very short amount of time. But also, don't be afraid to check beneath the surface and see if if it is only skin deep. And then we're gonna we've done these sort of opposite ways, and I kind of prefer the cutting the skin off method to the scooping it out method. Although we still have to cut it open and scoop out the seeds. So let's get in there. Because there's a cavity on the inside. Wow, that one has a lot of seeds. Holy crap. Look at all those seeds. Were they on sale? Yes. Both of these papayas together were $1 because they were extremely overripe when I got them. That's a lot of seeds. That's way more seeds than the first one. Actually, this one looks better overall, despite having a creepier skin. We're not saving the seeds. You can, as I mentioned for the first one, you can eat the seeds. They're supposed to be peppery, like black pepper, but you have to like process them and dry them, and I can't be bothered. Yeah, this is a ton of seeds. This is a crazy number of seeds. I know they have a lot of seeds, but that's a lot of seeds. I'm just scraping the guts directly into my compost, along with some of the stringy bits from the inside of the cavity. And being very careful and focusing because it's also slippery, and I really, really don't want to drop it into the compost, because then I would not fish it out of the compost. I would leave it there, and I would just lose it. Anyways, yeah, that was a lot of seeds. But I actually think that this one... Hi, Lilu. Oop, oop, oop. Hi. I actually think this one looks better than the first one. I think it looks less overripe. Again, despite the fact that the skin looked much worse. The first one was so dark orange, and this one is the more of the papaya color I think of, slightly less dark orange. She sneezed. Okay, well. Why are there so many seeds in this? There's so many seeds in it. They completely filled the cavity with seeds. Okay, well. And see, it looks great now. You can't tell any at all that the skin was kind of weird. This one's also a bit firmer, less squishy. But yes, my local one of my local grocery stores, I gotta say, one of the local grocery stores, they take produce that is over the hill. Usually produce that is visibly spoiling, like visibly starting to go off, and they put it in a bag marked for $1, and they just fill the bag up. And it's a little hit and miss sometimes. Sometimes they are too over to use. It has definitely happened where I got one home, took it out of the bag, and threw it away. But that usually only happens with things like berries. I've stopped buying berries because the berries never survive. They like barely survive the trip home. They're so bad. But big things, especially the bell peppers, all those bell peppers from the other day, I got those in one of those $1 bags, and they looked perfect. These papayas I expected to be a little bit creepy, and actually they look fine on the inside. They were just creepy on the skins. I thought we'd be cutting away some blemished interiors as well, but it was not the case. Yeah, so it's like the bags are clear. It's not like you're opening up and being surprised. The bags are clear plastic. You can peek at the inside, see what you're getting. They're not trying to trick you. That's where I got all the plums. That's why I had so many plums, and we had to do plum stuff. And I still have some plums. You can see them. Bought a bag of 10 plums, and I have to do something with plums. But again, even if I throw half of them away, I'm not going to test this one. We should taste test this one. We'll save a chunk. I think I got more out of this one as well. Mmm. Mmm. That one tastes better too. Less of that funk from the first one. So that must come from it being overripe. That funk on the other one. So we'll probably use the second one, the creepy one, for our project. Interesting. Well, there you go. Don't clafoutis. Never heard of it. I kind of wish I would have cubed this one. That's a lot of papaya. That's probably more papaya than I realistically am going to be able to use. So we might do... So this one's more overripe. You can see it's a darker orange. It also has a funk to it that is a little bit off-putting. Honestly, it's not the worst, but it's a little bit off-putting and it's less sweet. This one is sweeter, has less of the funk. It's still there, but it's less pronounced. And this also has a better texture, I think. This one was a little bit. We might play with this one. This is the one I'm going to use for my ice cream. We're not going to throw that away, at least not immediately. But this is going to be the main event one, I think. I don't think it's going to hurt you to eat the first one. Let's see how thick this stuff is before I go too far. Because this, I've tried shaking. Normally I shake a can of coconut to loosen up the... Because it forms that solid sort of layer and then the liquid underneath. And normally I shake it up to loosen those up. This one doesn't loosen up when I shake it. So it's either solid or there's no liquid in there. That's a pretty sturdy coconut thing right there. Okay. Okay. Machine. Or do I want to use the blender before I get this? What do you think? Blender or food processor? This is the food processor. Because we're going to want to whip it to get some air forced into it so that the... Because that's part of what gives it that ice creamy texture is you get some air forced into it. Which honestly, the immersion blender is the best one at doing. But I think this is too big of a volume for the immersion blender. So I'm leaning toward just sticking with this because I've already got it out. We need the lid. I also don't know if you can over whip coconut the way you can over whip dairy cream. Bookwoman, hi! Thank you so much for the Prime sub. Giving Papa Bezos money. I'm going to ask Google. Well, I'm going to ask DuckGo, which I recently learned as of yesterday runs on Bing. So I guess I'm going to ask Bing. Can you over whip coconut cream? All the questions are, can you whip coconut cream? So I guess it's harder to get it whipped. Yeah, I was surprised when supposedly the independent, nice search engine ended up just being an arm of Microsoft. Kind of. They're using the API. They're not owned by Microsoft, but This stuff is thick. Oh, there is liquid underneath there. Thick. Okay, so like half of this can was solid. Okay. Oh, converted a prime to a tier 1 sub. That is what that says. That is exactly what that says. Well, thank you for converting your prime sub to a tier 1 sub. Amazing. Thank you so much. That's definitely what you intended to do, right? For those of you unaware, they moved where the prime sub button was to hidden inside of a menu that's inside of another menu to make it harder to click on. And this is the second time now Bookwoman has hit the wrong thing. Well, I'm glad you're back either way. I guess I've already committed to food processor land. Let's move the stinky one out of the way. So I found a recipe that called for 2 cups, which we just put in there, of chopped papaya, and a cup and a half of pineapple, and a cup of mango. Well, I've got a lot of papaya, so I'm swapping out both of those other fruits for more papaya. Oh, it's in the same place it was last time you couldn't find it. There's no urgency. You can take your time. I'll be fine. Okay, we're gonna start it like this and feed some more in as it's going. And we have the liquid part of our coconut reserved to help thin that out if it ends up being too thick. We're also going to add a little bit of some flavor extract. We could add some ranciette, everyone's favorite flavor, rancid. Ooh, actually, I've been looking for an excuse to use this. And I think this might be it. Although it's dyed green, so that might clash with our orange fruit. It's very strong though. Out of focus. It's pandan, which is kind of unlike anything I could compare it to. We're going to add just a dribble. This stuff smells very, very strong, so I'm going to be very careful with it. And just add a dash. Oh, and we have exited ad-free time. So I'm treating the pandan like vanilla, and I'm adding just a tiny dash of it. It's like vanilla, but not. This one specifically is dyed green. Even on the label, it's got green coloring in it. This one is not naturally green. I could add vanilla too. I kind of don't want to add too many things. I kind of want to add some sugar too, and I'm not going to add that right away either. Power on. Puree. Hold. I got the extract at one of the Asian markets. This definitely needs more liquid. Off. We're gonna scrape it down. I'm gonna wash my hands real quick. Now, for doing something like this, you're really supposed to freeze the fruit in advance, so it's going in frozen. And we didn't do that because I'm lazy. So this might not work at all because of that exact reason I just said. I feel like it needs a little bit more liquid. And more time spinning. Gonna put the lid on. And blast it. And blast it. I will be freezing this. We will be freezing this after I've gotten it pureed smooth. That's the plan. You're supposed to freeze the fruit in advance to help the formation of like micro ice, I think, and then also freeze it afterwards. This needs more time. I'm worried this might end up being a little bit icy. How am I gonna make papaya noodles? Probably not gonna make literally papaya noodles. I think the noodles might be a separate thought from the papaya, but who knows? Also high. Critical. We need this to run for a while because I really want to whip it good. I don't even know if you can hear me over the sound of the thing. It's a little bit loud. We also don't want to overheat it by running it continually. Dessert pasta could be the new craze, and we might find out in a future episode. I really want to take the blade out because there's stuff sticking to the outer sides of the container here. It's hard to get at them with the blade in place. But if I take the blade out, we ain't getting the blade back in until we clean this thing. Because I'm not getting this goo underneath the axle any more than I have to. So we're just doing a scrapey scrape. As far down as I can get them. Oh, okay. The noise gate is probably picking up that the food processor is not something it should be transmitting. For me, it's very loud. It's hard to talk over. But the noise gate probably identifies it as noise and filters it out. Well, I will try to not shout when I'm doing that, because for me, it's very much I have to shout to even hear myself. Oh, actually, this is a good time to see if our flavor is at all workable. Needs sweetness. I'm not sure how much. It mostly tastes like papaya with a hint of coconut, which I think is what I was hoping for. I'm going to add just a smidgen of salt. It should help wake up the flavor without making it taste salty. And I don't think I want to add anything else to this. Potentially some sugar syrup if it still needs some sweetness after this next whip. Turned itself off because I wasn't running it and it was afraid that I was going to cut my hand off. I saw a chunk go by. Huh. We might have to actually dig this all out of here and re-add it, because I saw a cube of papaya that's kind of like sticking to the outside and just slowly migrating around the circle, which I didn't think it would be able to do, but there you go. It also keeps trying to push this darker orange, or this more intensely orange part, to the exterior. I wonder if I shouldn't put this in the blender. It's goopy, that's for sure. It's not exactly what I was expecting it to look like. Why is there an uncut chunk in there? How is there an uncut chunk in there? Those blades should be ripping it apart. I almost think that it's the fact that it's a food processor. I don't know. It's a good food processor, but I'm not sure that it was the best choice. I think maybe the blender was the better option. Ugh, I hate to have to get out another device. Because the blender is good at forming that sort of inward vortex and pulling stuff into the center blade and really blasting the crap out of it. Not that I have a high power blender. I've got a low power crappy blender, but it still blends in a way that the food processor doesn't really. And I think that might be the difference. We're switching devices. I'm just gonna bite the bullet and say, I think it needs it. Even though I hate washing this one even more than I hate washing the other one. Where'd the lid go? Okay, well, we're gonna pull the blade. Oh, it's thick. I hope that means it's thick enough to do its thing when I try to freeze it. We're going to start with, oh, there's a layer of goop at the bottom too. We're going to start with only part of it. That's 2 cups. I don't want to exceed the total capacity of my freezer thing. Yeah, the consistency is a little bit lumpy, which is why I think I want this higher power or this higher speed blade. The speed of the blade in here, this blade is tiny, but the speed is much higher. You're not going to be able to see it very well because I'm not taking that thing off because I think it's going to try to shoot. But this one has a liquefy mode. Which is too fast because it immediately cavitated. Let's try mix. No, let's try puree. It did indeed shoot, right? Yep. Oh. The issue I'm having is exactly the same issue that happened in there. Something in our mix is separating rather than emulsifying and pasting against the outside of the container, which it did in the processor here as well. That's what that sort of differently colored orange stuff is. It's happening in the blender here as well. It's smoother. It's thick enough that it really wants to cavitate, which is when it forms an air pocket around the blade. Yeah, I think it might be fruit fiber, but I'm not sure what to do about it. I don't have any polysorbate 80. Good idea. Is that a good idea? It's an idea. Let's call that an idea. Well, I don't want to lose that stuff. I feel like that stuff is going to be important somehow. I think if I mix it at a lower speed, we can incorporate that stuff. I just have to get everything smooth first. So I'm getting out a bowl. Can't believe the good thing the noodles part is not projected to take super long. Because I wasn't expecting the ice cream part to take quite this long. I should have. The last time we made ice cream, it took me like 3 hours to make ice cream. Although I was doing more than one flavor at that point. There's a big old chunk of papaya right there. Well, I think I worry that straining it will knock some of the air that we have forced into it out of it. But also, the stuff isn't really fibrous. It's like a thick paste. It's like a very thick paste. Because I've got it here on the spatula. It just doesn't want to incorporate with the rest of this. In a weird way. It has the consistency of like coconut oil, and I suspect that's exactly what it is, that it's coconut oil that has picked up color from the papaya, turned orange, and then it keeps sticking to stuff because it's like a thick coconut oil. Because look at that, it's like, and if it is coconut oil, which is what I suspect, then we need that in our mix in order for it to be smooth and creamy. That if we lose that, we're just going to have a block of ice. I just got a spatula out to clean a spatula. We're not doing that. That's dumb. What could we do? Right, it's acting like a congealed fat, which would be from the coconut. And it's very smooth. I think the reason it's sticking and not getting incorporated is because it is very like greasy smooth, and it doesn't want to grab in. The stuff tastes fine. The issue is if the main body of our project here is too watery, then when I try to freeze it, it's going to turn into ice instead of into a smooth dessert. I don't know what happened to this. Yeah, I don't know what happened to this chunk. This chunk right here. I'm just gonna eat that one because it decided today was not its day. Well, traditional ice cream is got egg in it as a binder. We are well past the point where I could incorporate egg into this. I've made no churn ice cream, which is, I'm following a loose recipe here. but it's just it's a no churn ice cream. You're supposed to do this and then freeze it. You're supposed to do this with a frozen papaya and then also freeze it. Well, at this point, it's not like anything. At this point, it's like a fruit puree. It's edible. It's definitely tasty, fruity, coconutty. Lightly sweet, not overly sweet. Ugh, there's a lot of this paste forming on the bottom as well. I mean, we always have an adventure here. No, not always. Sometimes I start out something and it works exactly how I expected it to, and there's nothing to be learned. But more often I screw something up and we have to do damage control. Well, the other option. Well, I'm worried if we freeze it as is, with this stuff not incorporated, we'll have weird little greasy bites and we'll have icy chunky bites. I want these orange strands of what we're thinking is coconut fat to incorporate. And I have one more high-powered blending device. Twice baked potato it. Maybe? Maybe? That might just be it. Partial freeze it, stick it back in the blender. Put it in the ricer. I think this is not the tool for the rice, or the job for the ricer. I do have an immersion blender. We could put it in a bowl and hit it with the immersion blender, and then it would have no way to stick to the sides because we'd be immersion blending it in a bowl. I thought this was going to be easier than it is. I thought this was going to be easier than it is, or than it's been being. Cripe. Well, I have about half and half here. We could do both things. Get out one of my frozen containers. It certainly is thick. Which is potentially a good sign. Yeah, but look at all that gunk that's just stuck in there. Okay, well, this one, lid on, in the freezer. I don't have any just standard whipping cream with which to make like a basic no churn ice cream right now. Just to test those things. Okay, so we're putting one in now to see what happens. Should we put... I'm almost... I have more papaya, so I'm almost tempted to grab another can of coconut milk, one that's less coconut, that's less fatty than the one we started with, because that one was a coconut cream, so it was 30% coconut fat, and that might be what's throwing us off, is that it was extra fatty, but it was supposed to act like whipped cream. That was the selling point on the can. We could go with a regular coconut milk that's very liquidy. I'm hesitant to just burn more ingredients at this point, though. We're doing it again. We are. Oh, this is gonna be a nightmare to wash up. Everything has a blade today. Oh. This creature should resist the urge to push the goop to the sides. Nope. Which might give us a better emulsion. I'm shamelessly licking my fingers at this point because this is getting a little bit old. So we're hitting this one. We're blasting this one. I think I have an oil and water issue. Yes. I definitely agree with that. I'm not sure how to fix it. No idea if that worked. The whole thing might be a fool's errand. Well, we're going to chalk this all up to a learning experience. It does look better from the top. From the top. But if we look on the side, it has once again, even though it hasn't done it quite as badly, pushed the goo out to the sides. So I think, yeah, it just absolutely does not want to incorporate these elements. We're going to freeze this one too. Where's my spatula? I'm going to scrape the blade off. But maybe coconut ice cream is just one of those things that's not a workable thing without some sort of industrial process or an emulsifier. Well, if it's all a failure, I'm out $5 because the 2 papayas were $1 and the can of coconut cream was $4. Oh, and it's really glued onto the spatula. Yeah, I think it's better. It's still not the best, and we still have a little blob. We still have a definite little blob on the top there where I scraped down the sides. It seems more pourable. So, well, the OG recipe had pineapple in it, yes, and I opted to not do the pineapple. Because I had so much papaya. Now the papaya also has a digestive enzyme in it, which is what I looked up earlier when I said, this smells a little bit weird. I looked it up, I was like, oh, it smells like that because it has a digestive enzyme in it. And that's what you're smelling as it starts to digest itself. Okay, well, I don't know that those guys are going to be frozen enough to work with before the end, but I will check on them before we're done. Oh. Onward and upward. We didn't use this bowl, so I'm going to put this bowl away. This got full of papaya, so we're going to set that aside. Yeah, it really does seem like it's doing that critical, where it looks like it's the coconut cream picking up all the color from the papaya and then carrying it away. Weird. It's got to be that. It's got to be the fact that it's too oily and it just does not want to work. I'm putting water in all of these containers that we used. So that they don't harden up while I'm doing other things. Because that's what makes cleaning all these things an absolute nightmare, is when the stuff hardens. I'm thinking it could also be still the coconut, but the coconut was extra separated, like really separated in the can, and I'm wondering if it might, actually I can check the can. I'm wondering if it might be old. I mean, it's not expired, but I wonder if it might be that it was too separated, and we just got a big wad of pure coconut fat. It tastes okay. The issue is I'm worried they might just come out of there as bricks, and not spoonable. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Let's move on to some noodles because I also need to make my own dinner. We can try incorporating papaya into the noodles. The noodle dish I'm making today is going to be a little bit more on the normal side. We're out of the realm of a crazy experiment and into the realm of just making a thing. My reference I have up today is called Authentic Mi Goreng. So that's what we're doing. Don't risk your dinner for the memes. We can try to get those papayas in there somehow. This calls for some sweetness, and we could use papaya as a source of sweetness in this. We need, for sure, oyster sauce, black soy sauce, American tomato ketchup, or banana ketchup, regular soy sauce. A little bit of sesame oil. Hot stuff. Shrimp stuff. This one. The sauces. Now, this is one of those things that has a bunch of slight variations to it. So we can pull up different. The key things you need are everybody has this one in it, which is, in my case, I'm using a black soy sauce, but it's supposed to be Indonesian kicap manis, which I don't know how to find, but it's close. Regular soy sauce, oyster sauce. Everybody has these three in there. And then there's a bunch of variations in this realm over here. We're making noodles. WeFormer. We're going to start by putting water in a pot. Oh. I'm going to take a moment at some point and clean at least a couple of these things I've got in the sink because they're taking up too much room. We need to boil some water because we're going to need to make some noodles. They need to be drained. Hi, TKL, or TK. What you have missed is a hour-long adventure of trying to get a coconut cream papaya mixture to emulsify and determining that it really, really, really doesn't want to. So we're just going to freeze it as is and see what it does. I used my food processor, my blender, and my immersion blender. The immersion blender did the best job because it didn't throw things outward to the sides. We kept having issues of the outer vessel, the outside of the vessel getting pasted with unemulsified coconut fat, we think. So those guys are in the freezer. This is also a test for my freezer containers to see how they perform. I got some new freezer containers because I've had trouble in the past with making ice cream and not having a thing to freeze it in that doesn't just shatter as soon as it gets brittle and frozen. And now I'm making noodles. And this pot can go away. We don't need this pot. Because I also need dinner. And I got, so there's just some water on the stove. We're gonna boil some noodles because I'm making mi goreng, which is a fried noodle thing, but the noodles need to be cooked first. Actually, because it wants to be tossed around, having a lot of room is ideal. We can get the big crazy thing. We don't need that. We can get the big crazy thing out and play with this for the first time. This will be its first outing as an actual cooking device. So, WeFormer, I have those exact things you're saying. I have a whole tube of them. Yeah. I have a whole tube of them. The issue I have with them is that when they are frozen, they become brittle. And I keep breaking them when I'm trying to scoop stuff out. They're not ideal. They're also tall, and the space I want to freeze them in is short. So what I got look like this. And then it has a little fitted lid. This claims to be freezable. I've had them shatter a bunch of times. These things claim to be for freezer use, as well as for microwave, I think. I don't know. They're also each just a pint, which means I can make a pint of ice cream and not have a bunch of extra airspace. I suppose we're not using the other two. There was 4 of them, so I got some extras here. I wasn't sure how much we were going to make, so I froze all 4 of them. But they also fit in the space in the freezer where I want them to live in the future. Okay, we have to do a little bit of mid-show washing here. I've created too large of a clutter, and I need one of these boards to not be all sticky and gross. But anyways, yeah, I tried those. That was my first instinct, was to try those because they're cheap and available. Well, my first instinct was to look for the cardboard ones. And I just could not find them. You can find them in like huge bulk orders on Amazon. But what I really wanted was just a simple little reusable one so that I could do it over and over again. Sizan, hi. Thank you for the moisten. Mmm. 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 Moist. Also, you're the first one here. Amazing. I'm shocked that no one had arrived prior to you just now. We're doing a little cleanup, although that's boiling, so I should put those noodles in there. We're doing a little cleanup in the back because I created too many dishes for midway. So while we're doing the noodles, which are in the back corner there, I'm gonna do a quick wash up of a few of these things, especially the various blender things, just to ensure that nothing hardens, because I really don't want to deal with any of these things after they dry. Well, I can confirm that the stuff we were trying to deal with on all of our everything was in fact coconut fat, because it rapidly melts under hot tap water. So there you go. There's your answer. I almost wonder if doing it hot so that it's liquid, or maybe not hot, but like warming it so that it's liquid before we attempt, because that's what you do with like a super traditional ice cream. It's heated, it's cooked gently to get the emulsion going. And then it's slowly frozen. Well, how's everyone doing? I haven't even asked that today. I've been so focused on my project, which has, once again, ice cream always takes longer than I expect it to, even though I'm doing a no churn thing. It always gets away from me. But how's everyone doing today? What are you having for dinner, or lunch, or breakfast, or midnight snack? Mid-afternoon depression eating. Whichever one of those applies to you. Oh, you gotta go. Oh no. Well, glad you could make it briefly. Sorry we didn't accomplish much in the first part, but I hope it was entertaining at least. I'm just trying to get the worst of this taken care of now. I could try streaming at different times. I've thought about doing it at different times, and we tried it for a little while, and didn't work, and I kind of defaulted back to the existing time, this time. Okay. I think that's the most extreme bits of it cleaned up. Drawing for work, madness. Who would even do such a thing? Okay, half my sink is open. The noodles are probably done enough. I don't want to overcook them, and they're going to get a little bit more cooking anyways, so we can undershoot them slightly, and I'd rather undershoot them than overshoot them. Okay, we got to start assembling stuff in the pan here. Pan on. This is our first outing with this crazy giant pan. And we need our sauces to be at hand. Burgers. I do like a burger. I had a burger yesterday because I had a coupon. Ah, my oyster sauce is stuck. There we go. Oyster, black soy. This stuff gets very thick in the fridge. You guys can't see it because you're looking at that pan that's doing nothing over there. It's like a combination of soy sauce and molasses. It makes for a sweet, savory. It's not terribly salt. I mean, it's got a lot of salt in it, but it's also got so much sugar in it that it doesn't taste salty. It just ends up sort of tasting sweet, like a sweet, savory thing. And that, tiny whisked together, is the basis of our fried noodle thing that we're doing. And the regular soy sauce loosens up the two thick sauces into a nice glossy. Ooh, oh, that's a good combo. Then we're going to put some sambal oelek mia, some banana ketchup that we're still working our way through that same old bottle of banana ketchup, so we got to definitely remember to use it, which will give us a little bit of acidity. And this stuff, which we've seen ages past, and we're going to get that pan warm. We're actually going to start that stuff in the pan because you want to fry it off a little bit. And it is shrimp fry, which is a misnomer. They're not baby shrimps. They are brine shrimp. They're sea monkeys. They're the same creature that are in your little package of dried sea monkeys, except these guys are cooked. And salted, heavily salted. Do I want to put, no, I don't want to put that one in. We don't need the hoisin. Okay, we're gonna let that, oh, this is a very non-stick thing. The oil wants to kind of escape. We're gonna let that stuff sort of fry into the oil a little bit, along with, I opened up this cupboard and I could immediately smell pandan. I must have lost a drop of pandan that is perfuming everything around it. Hot peppers. Where did I put the, I rearranged everything. Remember when I rearranged everything? I just did that, and it means I've forgotten where a lot of my things go. Hot pepper. Which we're grinding up, seeds and all. We're going to throw in there with the oil and the little shrimps. I'm going to shave off a little bit of ginger and do that as well. Vietnamese ginger chicken. That sounds good. Speaking of ginger, ginger. And a thing to push stuff around with. We are starting by just sort of creating a flavorful smear in the bottom here. Not really following the recipe very well. We're not using cabbage, we're using bok choy. We're not using fresh chili, we're using some dried chili, which is already in there. We need the scallions, and quite a few of them. Oh, and we're using pork in place of any other meat item in this because I happen to have some. And that's the main reason I do pretty much all the things I cook is I happen to have X ingredients, so we're making thing that uses a lot of that. Okay, we're taking the tails off. The tails are a little bit dried up on these. I don't want to plant them. Also, I've got quite a few of them already going in my garden. By the tails, I mean the roots. I know that the plants don't actually have tails, and by saying the tails, just like when I say I take the nose off of a clove of garlic, that doesn't mean anything unless I explain what I mean by nose. Okay, this is one of the things that I think, again, I'm basing my assumptions off of very little. But I think this is a feature of, more of a feature of Indonesian things, where you put the scallions in very early and get them crisped up in the oil, rather than throwing them on very late and having them be a fresh element, as you would in like Japanese cuisine. Because these guys are going in now. I don't have bean sprouts. We can't do bean sprouts. Scallions. And we're using standard yellow onion. Not fancy shallot. Dolmas. I do believe that is stuffed grape leaves. That's what I think that means. Nice. Oop. That's okay. This is a big onion. We can afford to lose a little bit of it around the edges. I didn't do any mise en place for this. Well, I got all the sauces out and lined them up, but then I didn't do any actual mise en place for this. So this is very much my way, my classic way of just cooking in a slight panic all the time. I am already loving this giant pan, and I can tell you immediately that I will make too much food many a time. I will be tempted to fill this out as I cook with it. Don't mind me, I'm just putting some papaya in our pan with our noodles to honestly, Lord knows. Honestly, who knows? Mags, hi! You're in time for me to do things? Welcome. Oh, my noodles have all stuck together in a brick. That's not ideal. We also need to cut up our bok choy and our tomato, although the tomato is going on fresh. So that can be done at the very, very end. Oops, dropping stuff. Yes, we're making hot dog macaroni. No, we're making papaya mi goreng. Because I had more papaya than I needed, and we're throwing it in everything. And you know, something I should have put in right away, and I didn't. So we're going to do it now and hope and pray. Which is the meat. There's a meat going in this. We're gonna meat. Buckeye brownies. I've had those. I've never made those, but I've had those. They're tasty. Take a quick opportunity to clear off a little bit more of my mess back here while stuff fries up. Oh, well, Mags, you missed the stupid beginning to this stupid episode. Where I proceeded to ruin a bunch of papaya and then decide that it was salvageable and kept going. Kept going and going and going and produced one of the worst heaps of dishes we've done in a while. Before I even started the noodles. Exciting. Fun stuff. I am loving the new pan, though. The new pan, already proven winner. It's very non-stick. I'm not noticing anything sticking even around where the little scuff is. It's huge, which gives me room to do the thing that you're supposed to do, which is push ingredients away from the center that you don't want to cook as fast. Like a wok, but this is a big non-stick pan. It's crazy that I'm accomplishing such wonders. You saw all the choppy kitchen devices. That was... Okay, you missed one. Here, we'll show off the last one. Here's my last one. It's a small spice grinder. And then that completes the tour of all the choppy electric devices. Okay, the pork is looking pretty well done in the middle already. Let's see how well this tosses. Oh my god. Oh my god. First of all, I lost an onion. I tossed a little bit too hard. But it's the right shape. It's the right shape and it's lightweight enough to do the tossy toss. You know, the tossy toss. It's not a light pan, but it's okay, this pan is it's a little bit lighter than this size cast iron. This is a unmarked cast iron. Whatever size that is, the size down, it's a bit lighter than that. So it's not super heavy, honestly. Patsy. Well, the papaya ice cream in question is currently freezing away. Possibly a fail? We don't know yet. We might never know. If it fails too hard, if it fails too hard, I'm still going to take pictures of it. We're just not going to eat it. But that was the attempt. I attempted to make homemade papaya ice cream. Let's get our, so it's in the freezer freezing right now. I'll check on it before we're done, but I suspect we might have to do a revisit on it. Also, I should not have let these noodles harden into the colander. That was a bad idea. Oh my God. Okay, well, let those noodles harden into the colander. The worst that can happen today is that it turns into just a brick of papaya flavored ice. It did not emulsify very well. These noodles need to break the heck up. No, I think things are going okay. I think things are. I think we're on pace to make something good here. What was I going to add? An egg. It needs an egg. It needs an egg. No, we've definitely had bigger fails than today. I put some papaya in here too because we had a lot of papaya. Potentially too much papaya. We're gonna crack this the don't do because you'll just drive some shell into your innards of your egg way, but it's the easiest way to crack an egg into a pan. And with the egg in there, that means we are... The egg is the ultimate test to see if your nonstick works as well. And looking pretty good. Oh, I gotta tidy things up again. There we go. Okay. Tidy, tidy, tidy. A little bit of sesame oil as a finisher. Take the heat off so we don't burn anything. I know I already put scallion in there, but we're going to add some more scallion because I want some fresh. Noodles away. Extra bok choy away. This, that, other thing. I thrifted this pan. I got this pan at Savers for a extreme discount. It was, I'm forgetting now, it was 10? Maybe even less? It's an extremely nice pan. It's enormous. It's the biggest pan I have. It was such a good deal I could not pass it up, even though I wasn't really looking for a new pan. It has a lid, and it has a fitted steaming plate. I was there at the right time for sure. There's a lot of pans that go through, and the non-stick ones like this are usually just awful. They're dropped off at the thrift store because they have been cooked on recklessly and beaten to heck. But every once in a while you find one that's like in decent shape. And in this case, it was one that was in decent shape and was a pretty amazing like piece. It does have a tiny little scratch. And apparently the nonstick is not sturdy enough to completely not stick. If we slide over here. So we've had a little bit of stickage where this egg got really thin. I can loosen it up with a spatula, so it's not like we've burned it on. I looked it up after the fact because this didn't come with any documentation. It's not Teflon, so it's not going to be as nonstick as Teflon. It's that ceramic coating, which isn't really ceramic. I forget what it actually is that they call ceramic coating. It is a ceramic-like material that is used as a nonstick thing. There was oil in the pan. There was oil in the pan. The problem is the oil, this picked up most of the oil before the egg got there. Maybe a little extra would have helped. Let's arrange some things. But yeah, it was a fabulous deal, and I wasn't actually even looking for a pan, and I don't have a place to put it. It is so big. I rearranged the whole kitchen and the shelf around the corner there that I run over to do stuff, and it still doesn't have a home. Just because of its sheer bigitude. It is a very bigly pan. We're throwing some tomato on here because that is a thing that you put on the type of noodle dish that this was supposed to have been when I started. Ooh. I'm going to mute you guys for just a sec. And I'm back. I I'd have to find a place to hang it. And also the issue is I could hang the pan, but it has a lid and the steaming plate that fit with it. No, I'm actually not going to go into what that was because it is something that I don't want to talk about. But it was not a fire alarm. You can speculate all you want. This thing is complete. Let's go take a photo. A photo. And we return, and we're coming back, and we're sliding back, and we're all up in the DMs. Am I a chef by trade? I think you've asked me that before, Patsy. And in a technical sense, yes, because I'm paid to do this, but in a broader, more accurate sense, no. I am a home cook. Well, I've been asked it many a time by returning people. I've lost track of who keeps asking me. I think that's all the stuff. Oh, I don't have a calamansi, but I can give it a little dash of lemon on the top. But no, so in a technical sense, yes, because here we are. Thank you for all your support. In the sense you're asking, no. Let's taste this. So this is not exactly anything, but we approximately used the guidance of an Indonesian mie goreng to make this. Mmm. 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 I'm gonna say throwing the papaya in as a meme, not the best idea. It kind of clashes with what's going on in here. Oh, that's spicy. That's spicy. The papaya is not the best in here. I'm going to say that. I'm going to go ahead and say that. Oh, but it is. Whew, it's got a kick to it. Hoofda. It's tasty. It's rich. Mmm. The egg kind of coats each noodle and gives you this lovely sort of creamy unctuousness. The vegetables are nice and crunchy. Well, I should say the bok choy pieces are still have a nice crunch to them. It's a little bit spicy. These These little bastard peppers, I don't know what they are, but they are hot. They're hotter than I am expecting every time I use them. Ugh. I don't know what they are. They're hot. Tomato. Now, this tomato, we made something like this ages back. The idea for putting this fresh tomato on this comes from the package of instant mi goreng, which has a fried egg. I scrambled my egg in there. A fried egg, fresh lettuce, fresh tomato, fresh cucumbers. And I did the full workup. I made one of these with all the bells and whistles, and I discovered that fresh tomato on savory, spicy noodles like this is really, really good. Just slice up some fresh tomato, plunk it on top. It's fantastic. It works so well. I can't believe it's not more common because it works really well. Just try it. Next time you have an Asian noodle thing, just that you're looking for garnishes, just throw some sliced tomato on top. Mm. Mm. And it helps cool the mouth a little bit. This definitely has a little bit more burn than I was shooting for. I might need a little glass of milk. But it's not like blowing my head off. It's not crazy blowing my head off. It's just mighty tasty. And this is one of the cases where I didn't really follow the recipe for this. I just kind of threw stuff at it. And if you just throw stuff at it like this and you keep to the general theme. So we're going for a sweet, savory, fried noodle. So it's like fried rice, but with noodle. We ended up throwing some ketchup in there and well, we also threw sambal oelek in there. That might be why it's double spicy. That might be why it's double spicy, because there's two spices in here. Probably should have stuck with one or the other. Either the fried chili in the beginning or the sambal oelek in the sauce. Will there be a stream on Monday is an excellent question, because Monday is Memorial Day. And I'm going to hesitantly say no. I'm not going to say firm no. And if it is, it's going to be at a weird time. I would do it very early. And I haven't decided if I want to do it very early or not. Which means we should push to Tuesday for a for sure stream. But yes, Monday is Memorial Day here in the US. So that is going to interfere with my normal scheduling because I have other plans. Because although I'm available at the same time that I would otherwise be available, a bunch of my friends are extra available and we're doing stuff. So tentatively no, unless I can work out how to do something early that doesn't clash with existing plans. I feel like no one's going to show up. They'll all be outside grilling anyways. So probably wouldn't be a good day for it. You want to see the ice cream before we go. Or at least take a peek at it. We could try a breakfast stream. I used to do breakfast streams on Saturdays, and the turnout was terrible. So I stopped doing them. Well, it looks the same-ish. Oh, I can already feel this is not going to work. Well, the unemulsified clump of fat on the top has become hard because of course it did. It's 100%. That's what the issue is. It's coconut fat because that is just hardened coconut fat on the top. It's cooling my mouth off, but we can't freeze this. It's just the edges are turning like icy, not creamy, but like ice fiber, like when you thaw out an ice cream and then refreeze it, and you get that weird fibrousness to it. This has not worked. It tastes fine. The thing is, the flavor. This stuff did not come together, but the flavor is still good. So I guess I just eat it like a pudding. I'll tell you about the flavor. The texture is a fail. The texture is a fail. It tastes like papaya. It tastes like coconut. The coconut comes through, but not like overwhelmingly. The papaya has actually gotten kind of subtle as it's been cooled. It's not very sweet. It's very lightly sweet. These papayas were not the sweetest I've ever had. And it has translated into the thing, even though I added a big handful of sugar. I think the pandan, I was very, 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 very light with the pandan, and I think it is just giving sort of a hint of background creaminess. Because there's something in there that's not coconut or papaya, and I can't put my finger on it, but the only other thing that I put in there is pandan, so it has to be the pandan. This is not a good test for these containers either. I am going to have to, it's summer, so it's ice cream season, so I'm going to have to come back and do another ice cream. Just to test these things. But this is a fail. I'm not going to put, I'm actually going to get the other one out of the freezer. Because I can tell you, these are going to turn into bricks. And with little bits of coconut fat strewn through them. In exactly the way you don't want your ice cream to do. Also, I think they're going to separate. Ooh. Boy, I'm almost tempted to do experiments. That one's even worse. Isosceles? What are you talking about? What IKEA glass containers? So I guess I'm gonna eat this like a pudding. I'm tempted. Here's what I'm tempted to do. Complete reverse direction with this. Cook it to completely liquefy the fat. This is going in the fridge. This isn't going in the fridge. This is going in the fridge. It's gonna stay like this. I'm tempted to cook it to completely liquefy the fat and then shoot it in the blender to try to force it to come together. I'm sure that exists. I'm nowhere near an IKEA. I don't know. These are pint containers. that are supposed to be freezer containers. And in fact, it was freezing quite well from the outer surface. So I'm sure that if I did this with something that was proper, it would freeze properly. Well, okay. Oh God, and I still have all of this papaya, the other entire papaya. Do I want to do that now? I don't want to make more dishes. We could try straining it after cooking. I don't think that what we're dealing with is fibers, though. I think what we're dealing with is just little hard fat knobs. What time are we looking at? We're zooming in on over 2 hours. Do I want to do that right now? You know what? Screw it. Yes. We're gonna right this minute I'm gonna eat my other one while we're doing this. I'm gonna eat my noodles while we're doing this, but we are all of it right now in pan. Oh, so I guess that means we have a couple minutes because we're going to let that heat up to the point where it starts to melt. Mmm. So, strap in, I guess. We have a bonus length. I tell you what, we're doing a bonus length because we're probably not doing a Monday. I also, you know, since we're trying to solve here, where's my tapioca? What if we just add some tapioca? If I can find it. Tapioca. That's not tapioca. Ah, I rearranged everything and I can't find anything. Oh, where'd I put it? Where'd I put it? Where'd I put it? Tapioca is a thickener. Okay, well, we haven't done a surprise long one in a while. I think probably since most of you have been with the channel. Usually it happens because I lose track of something or we have a complete fail. And then I double down and say we're going to solve it today, which is what's happening now. Okay. You know, I wish I had some xanthan. Xanthan gum would force that to come together. Faux show. Well, we don't lose too many people, but what's going on? Papaya bars, says Ryuya. Also, hi, Ryuya. One ingredient trick for extra silky ice cream. Bad tapioca. Well, add starch, but blah 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 blah. We don't need any of that stuff. We don't actually want to boil this. We want to get all the fat melty. Because if the fat is already a liquid, then it should disperse. Because this is too thick for it to float effectively. Although it'll float here because we're not doing a very good job with the emulsion. Is tapioca an emulsifier? I should ask Google that. Is tapioca an emulsifier? It's just a thickener. But it's supposed to be more freeze stable. I know that. I know it's supposed to be more cold stable than like other similar thickener starches. I don't see any more. First of all, our color is better because the little, oh, there's a blob right there. I did notice that the color of the stuff was losing its orange into the little fatty globules that were picking up all of the orange, which is very interesting that the coloration in papaya is fat soluble. There must be something you can do with that. Okay. There, bite this. I knew this wasn't going to take super long. Mmm. But the color's a lot more even now. All right, I'm talking about my mouthful. It's very rude. All right, all right. Back to the thing. I don't. I'm just going to add 1 scoop of tapioca to try to encourage it to thicken up a little bit. Tapioca also has the advantage of you don't need the slurry step that you need with like a cornstarch. Typically, it doesn't instantly gelatinize. All right, in she goes, steaming hot. In she goes, steaming hot, lid on. Whip. Oh yeah, that's what tapioca is mostly used for. It's a powdery start. Here, this is what it looks like. Um, you can eat it as like a vegetable tapioca root, I think. But yeah, it's can you eat it as a vegetable? I'm not sure. Tapioca is a starch powder in the same vein as potato starch, cornstarch, things like that. But all of those starches behave slightly differently to each other. So it's worth it to have more than one on hand. Up in my cupboard here, I've got potato starch, cornstarch, and tapioca. But you can use tapioca to make like a pudding. Traditional pudding, American puddings are starch thickened. The Brits call them custards. But they behave slightly differently. Like I said, tapioca does not need to be turned into a slurry first. First of all, it looks a lot nicer already. Tapioca doesn't need to go through the step of being turned into a slurry before you add it to something hot, because it doesn't gelatinize super fast, so you don't get those little lumps. It does mean that it takes a little bit more time to gelatinize. When you add cornstarch to something, it's going to thicken pretty much immediately. That's both the upside and the downside. But and the reason I'm using it here, my understanding is that tapioca is more freezer stable. It looks so much better. Tapioca is more of a freeze stable thing. Okay, putting him in the freezing box. Now these guys are currently warm, so they are going to not be testable until a bit later, but they look so much better. Yeah, they immediately look so much better. So I guess I will have to report back in a bunch of hours on those. Yeah, never, yeah. I mean, like a lot of vegetables that you can only ever find. Oh, nice, wheat former. I was not aware of that. We don't have a Trader Joe's around here. Also, Trader Joe's is kind of pricey for me. But yeah, what I get, Bob's Red Mill, which is also the brand of my potato starch and the brand of a bunch of other things. They make a bunch of just various flours. They make cassava flour, which, if I want to be serious about making fufu, I should buy their pre-powdered cassava, because we had such a hard time doing it ourselves. I'm definitely not in Nycto's. I'm in Red Weird. Also, I can just drop. Our Discord is very low impact. Let me do a quick drop for anyone who wants to but isn't. Because yeah, we'll have to post results later. I might even do a quick little like video grab of testing it. But it's going to be some hours because now that one is hot. So we're not going to be able to test it in the short term at all. So I guess with that, there's nothing else for me to do. Oh. I do that too. I'm in a lot of Discords that I post in, but they're all kind of in a folder, and aside from when I'm posting food, I'm rarely interacting in them because they're in the big list of ones that I've got sort of tucked in a folder. Well, yeah, so we can't test that until it has frozen, and since it went in hot, we're not going to be able to check on it for, oh God, it's going to be pushing, it's going to be nighttime. It's going to be like 11 o'clock. So I guess, yeah, that was the papaya journey. This is yum. It's actually getting less spicy as I go, so maybe I hit a really spicy spot with my first bite. But this is mighty tasty, pretty easy, just kind of throwing stuff together type of noodle dish. That was our first outing for the big pan, and it performed beautifully. I love it. It's the perfect shape for doing that toss thing. That sort of, well, here, I don't have to do it with my hands. I can show it. The curvature means you can do that tossing motion and stuff will fly up and then back into it. Toss. Which a lot of pans attempt to do and fail. I have some other pans here that, looking at this one, has a similar attempt at a curve, but when you toss with this one, it goes like, you couldn't even see that. It goes up, straight back. It makes a freaking mess. That one does not work for the toss. On the other hand, this one is the best tosser I have. I've never spilled something unless I was just going nuts with it. So the big one passes that test. It passes the nonstick test. It's big enough to push. Oh my! I think it might be my best pan. I just don't have a place to put it. Let's wrap up before everyone leaves. I know exactly where we're going. I had planned in advance of where we're going. Sal Berry and Mark are doing a fundraising uncapped subathon, and we're gonna go jump in on them. Sometimes Sal does food stuff. I don't think they're gonna do food stuff this time because it would mean hauling the hardware into the other room and then hauling it back. Also, Sal is asleep right now, and we're gonna go see Mark, who is a fish, who is playing I Am Fish as a fish. We never get to raid Sal, even though Sal's not technically there right now. We never get to raid Sal. I used to cross over with Sal all the time, and now Sal's at night, nighttime land. So yeah, most likely nothing on Monday, but I can make an attempt at something. And otherwise, I will shoot for Tuesday. I will bring my big old dumb face up here. Hi, here's my big old dumb face. And yeah, I have nothing specifically on the docket. We're gonna use up freezer stuff. We're gonna be diving into the freezer for doing some freezing stuff, so I can make room and make ice creams. Farewell. Goodbye. Talk out the side of my mouth like this.